When you talk about Miles Davis, you can't just talk about his music. You also have to talk about his style because the way he dressed was just as important as the way he played. Over the years, Miles Davis built one of the most recognizable personal styles in history. Very clean, classic look. He dressed like very sharp young jazz professional. He often wore slim cut suits, dark tones like black, navy, charcoal. His suits were usually tailored close to his body, not loose or baggy. He liked wearing white shirts underneath his jackets with skinny ties or sometimes no tie at all, slightly relaxed. He kept it simple though, very polished. He usually wore black or dark brown shoes. Everything about his look was neat, controlled. Even his hair at the time was very short and well groomed. This was the cool jazz image, and Miles helped define it. He looked like someone who cared about details, discipline, and presentation. As he moved into different eras, I want to say the 1950s and early 60s, his style started to shift though. He wore suits, but they were more modern. Instead of like a strict formal look, he began wearing softer tailoring. You might see lighter color suits like gray or tan. He also started wearing turtlenecks under his jackets instead of always wearing a dress shirt. This gave him more relaxed look, still sophisticated, but more relaxed. During this time, I felt like it was more of the Ivy League style. Um, you know, simple button-down shirt. He was moving away from the formal, more restricted look. And I think in the 70s, though, Miles Davis completely changed his wardrobe. This is where it became more bold and unforgettable. He started wearing tight leather jackets, black and red, sometimes metallic colors. The jackets were often zipped halfway. He wore patterned shirts under his jackets, silk shirts, sometimes loud patterns, abstract shapes, stripes, or bold designs. He also wore tight-fitting pants, often black, dark colors. One of the most important parts, though, I think was his sunglasses. He wore large, often dark lenses, um, almost everywhere, whether it was indoor, outdoor, aviator style, sometimes more square, thick, framed glasses. They gave him a mysterious, almost untouchable look. Even in interviews, he wore his sunglasses. He also started wearing more jewelry during this period. You would see rings on his fingers, gold chains around his neck, sometimes bracelets. These weren't just small accessories, they added to his bold, flashy image. But in the 1980s, he moved into high fashion, designer clothing, designer coats, very dramatic shapes, um, wool coats. Others were more modern designer pieces with strong shoulders and clean lines. His color choices were different, they varied at this moment. Instead of black and gray, he wore more like deep reds, purples, blues, sometimes bright statements. He was no longer afraid of standing out. What makes Miles Davis' style so powerful is not just the clothes themselves, but how he wore them. Whether it was perfectly tailored or wearing a leather jacket, he wore everything with confidence. Nothing ever looked forced, it always looked like Miles. Um, he didn't really follow trends. He changed with the time and made each style his own. His wardrobe told the story of evolution, creativity, confidence. From classic jazz elegance to bold street luxury fashion, his clothing showed that he was never afraid to change and never afraid to stand out.